Yeah, Mandela Man's been making coffee now for over 15 minutes. So you might get a video at this rate of just me sitting here eating things. That's a good idea, Dan, definitely. I will not be doing that. Thank you, Millie, as well. I think Voltaire has this on CD. He says the sound quality of this album makes current albums pale by comparison, or pale in comparison. Considering this album was produced in 1988, Stay on These Roads by Aha, it's just goes to show, doesn't it, really? I won't just have that playing non-stop. I'll put another one on here.
Oh dear.
I don't even know what that means. Probably though, yes. So this second track came out in about 2013, I think. So, or 14. Anyway, it's a while back now, but doesn't seem very long. I never particularly thought it was like the greatest track or song known to man, but on the other hand, it's or woman. It's not bad, and it had a the end bit of it is the best bit, I think. The end part. So obviously it's Trent Reznor, 9 Inch Nails, Came Back Haunted, and the video was by Lynch. Quite a straightforward, low-budget video by Lynch with Trent Reznor in it, and it had some shots of a girl dressed up as a ballerina, I believe, and half ballerina, half sort of insect, with camera zooming in and out and things like this. So I thought it was quite good, although it was a bit strobospheric, and people said it could cause epileptic reactions, so there was a warning before the video. I thought that the song would appear in Twin Peaks: The Return, but it didn't. Yeah. Just putting a bit of music on before you came, so that was Nine Inch Nails, Came Back Haunted. I thought that Lynch making the video for that one, he was going to do he was going to use it for some way in Twin Peaks: The Return, but no. And the lyrics even seem to be kind of suitable for her, but
He did that video back in the day.
he directed the video. It was about either 13 or 14, nearly 10 years ago. I can't believe it was that long ago, but it so
I'm that kind of Lynch fan where I sat one night and I watched all the commercials that he made and everything I could think of. You know, I dig all those PlayStation 3 commercials. That was interesting.
yeah, going back to probably the PS2 or
PS3, yeah.
Oh, PS3. Okay.
Yeah. You know what I heard? I heard that his first commercial is, I don't know if this is true, but I think it is the Indian with the tear.
All right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
heard
I
that.
think he's done a lot of different ones.
Well,
Like,
I'm thinking of the famous New York one where the lady throws the garbage on the ground and the Native American comes, but he wasn't. He was a hired actor. He wasn't really Native American.
well, yeah, but
Stuff like one.
the one where the New York litter trash was showed all of the rats and things. That was definitely a big
1979. I believe that's a Lynch.
No, it wouldn't. No, not the 1979 one.
Oh, it was 79.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, no, that wasn't by Lynch. He did one in.
Sure.
He did one in about 1990 or something. So maybe it was inspired by that one. No,
really?
I mean, when it was 1979, it only just made Eraserhead. So,
well, can you show me the one he made? Because I thought I was sure that he made that original one. I'd be interested to see.
But he obviously no. I mean, he didn't. He did the sort of future one that was obviously a follow on from that. So,
was it like a remake of that concept?
No, I think the Indian tear business wasn't in the Lynch one. So, I'll put it on though in a minute. But earlier, Voltaire said he wasn't very well, and I just sort of thought, oh, he'd put it in the main chat, and I just went and lay on my bed for a while, and then, I thought we weren't doing a video really, so.
Rock and roll. Is that all sold out now? The festival?
I don't know. I mean, it's
like, if I had the money for the gas, I'd go, but it seemed expensive from Chicago. Drive over there.
Well, it's a bit of a strange time of the year for people to be going there, I think.
Yeah.
It's not a massive sort of type of affair.
I'm sure there'll be videos we could look at when it goes down. So Lynch hasn't been doing the weather reports. That's a good sign. Maybe he's working, huh?
Well, for the last month plus, and so considering that he did a video on his birthday, that one that I showed you, and
that could have been pre-taped too, though, right?
No, it was obviously not pre-taped. It was live.
Okay.
It was just him tuning in live with these TM people, so it looked pretty.
I heard him.
I can't really see him taping something for his birthday back in December or something. But anyway,
shouts to the Maharishi and all that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's just the people who are involved with transcendental meditation, and this is a big thing for Lynch. So it was just good to see him because, I mean, he looked actually quite well, I would say, compared to about 2 years ago. He looked rather frail at one point. And
I've been using pinball to meditate myself. Try to keep my mind off of the heart condition. You know.
What you mean, like digital pinball?
Digital, indeed. Yes, I have a physical one, but it's I got a few fuses out. But yeah, I gotta doing the old digital. Pretty cool though. It's got actuators built into it, so you can like nudge the machine, and the pinball actually responds. Pretty neat. When I get Twin Peaks running on it, there's a Twin Peaks machine. I'll show and tell when I get that up and running. But I got to add a computer to it to do that.
Yeah, but if you've spent money on getting an actual digital pinball machine, you should have spent this money on a laptop, surely.
My aunt is telling me that it is almost ready. She's almost ready to send it to me, and that I might be getting a computer. Because man,
Sounds
I
like
need one like yesterday. There's so many videos that could have done, and so many topics that are just fucking going by. Flying by the wayside. Like to go hard on Disney myself. Do a little Disney like Tuesday or something like that.
Do you mean watching it?
No, no, just like shooting out ideas that because the stock is so low and the company is just every time they come out with a product, it's just another screw up, mess up. It's unfortunate. They have all the tools at their disposal to really.
What do you mean then? You mean you're Disney?
What's that? You cut
You want
out.
to contact them?
Mm, I'd like to work.
Like
Like
when
to work.
Genevieve said that you were trying to get a job as
Well, I don't know. I heard a rumor a while ago on
or
some
something. I don't
channel
know.
that that they're pretty clueless as to what to do about a CEO position, and there's somebody threw out the idea. I think the board threw out the idea that Iger would train his next CEO, but I mean they are forgetting that like the original Walt Disney, what he did with the
Well,
parks and everything, that was a
let's
true
just
artistry.
let's
And
just put this on first, and then we can carry on.
it's
This is
not just
the
something you can throw together.
this is actually music from Twin Peaks.
Boy, when you hire David for a commercial, you get like a fine French film or something. That's pretty cool.
The music at the end is something that was certainly the end bit anyway was used in Twin Peaks. So
The rats remind me a little bit of like a Lenny Riefenstahl type of thing.
well, it's definitely Lynch kind of at his best, really, even though
So
it's just
using those powers of persuasion.
1 minute. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. That's a pretty like.
And I don't know. I think some of the connections in it are a little bit loose, like people standing around having a party, like throwing a bottle of beer on top of a grate in the street with old cars and things. I mean,
That's what I mean. You could have
when was that even happening in New York in 1990? And how was that in any way linked to the rats?
in the '80s. It was they had a garbage strike. It got pretty bad, but like yeah, I had an evening one night where I watched all his shorter works, stuff like that. It's pretty good. I mean, it's almost like watching a movie if you watch them all back to back. They have like that common David theme running through them, kind of Lynchian type of feel. I think he was. They used to on Saturday Night Live. They used to do like they used to make fun of this commercial. There's one commercial he did for like some perfume, maybe Obsession or something like that. I think you know what I'm talking about. That was a good one, where he
There
kind
was
of he set the standard for that kind of thing. I assume
there was one that had. I'm not sure if it was
it was
James
like
Marshall or it had Mädchen Amick in it. I think.
that might
Or
be the
no,
one.
there's one. No, there's one with Heather Graham for sure.
It's one where they're like looking at everyone looks at each other like with these knowing glances, but they don't really say much. Something like that. Yeah, I
Well,
remember.
some of his ads were like probably less arty than that one. Some were a bit more, say,
There's some weird ones out
kind
there.
of just typical. Yeah, like when he gets the Dior ads that were done more recently, where it had the Blondie playing, music and Call Me or whatever it was, or Heart of Glass, I think it was actually. Those were sort of, there was nothing that Lynchian about them. There's just a certain amount, I suppose. But he made a whole film for that, the Dior Blue or something it was called.
Lady Shanghai Blue in
Yeah,
blue.
yeah.
Blue. Yeah, I've seen it. It's pretty good. I
It's
like it.
filmed in the style of Inland Empire, really, I would say, but
There's
just a bit
there's
slightly more lavish, maybe.
there's one commercial. I don't know what it's for, but it's like two homeless looking dudes walking down the street and like the fire and there's flashes and everything like totally Lynchian. I forget what that one might have been. Homeless.
It's more just a still shot, and then people come out of a. He did definitely do an ad with Gerard Depardieu. I'm not sure, but that one may be in the French one as well. There's some guys outside of some kind of bar or something, and then there are the wires or something like moving around on the floor, like flapping, like with all that electricity and stuff. Yeah, people moving backwards.
Yeah. Let's see if we ever do that book project. We could try to incorporate some of those. Maybe that'd be cool.
Well, I mean, I think
it's I've been trying to come up with scenes and write it down and figure out what are the images we need for this scene and that scene. It's quite difficult.
There's another channel for the coffee time, basically, or no, it's for the coffee time page, but you can just join up if they're on the group, and so there's a whole load of people in there. I mean, today it's not been very busy, so I don't know if people are going to pay attention to it. But I did write in there, just said, is anybody interested in helping out with videos or being on videos? And really, there's one guy who's called Bob Antone. He says he's interested in appearing, but he actually lives in Snoqualmie and everything. I think he'd be quite beneficial.
Neat. Yeah, that'd be cool.
And he's someone who's quite open to a lot of things the sort of things that you talk about, as in like, one night he was in bed and there was a hooded axeman at the foot of his bed, or a ghost coming,
Oh yeah,
stealing all of his clothes, and he woke up naked in bed, and then there's a ghost molesting him, that kind of thing. But I know, not really that kind of thing. It's more just stories relating to the area, going back the history of the area. He was talking about how, like there are certain areas and then it's just being modernized in a way which is not very good often.
That's what I thought, that the whole point of like the Great Northern's expansion plans in the woods. That's kind of thematically relevant to the show, I think.
Yeah, gentrification, and just he was talking about like something like $900,000 condos or just this sort of thing, and probably like the bit where we saw Sylvia's housing where she lived, and then Richard came and he stole everything and just acted completely violently and all that. I mean, that area that was actually in the area, I believe.
Those look like prefabricated houses to me. Yeah.
Yeah, but it would have been a fairly wealthy area because,
Oh yes, yeah.
but it didn't really have any, but it lacked, any sort of feeling of the area, as is often the
No
case.
character. Yeah,
Yeah,
no character to it.
not a lot anyway.
I feel like that was on purpose, like a troll, like some of the trolling that they did to the audience. It's
Well, I
like,
think I think that area. I think when they were filming it, somebody said that it was a gated community, and I got this idea that they were going to be filming some of the older residents, like in a, I interpreted that as them being in a home type of situation, but it wasn't obviously like that. Care home. I mean, if we'd had a storyline with Catherine Martell and she was in a care home, I would have found that not unreasonable, but I don't know. It's just like it could
Piper
probably
Laurie
be.
still alive?
Yeah, yeah. She was
Yeah.
actually surprised that she wasn't given any role in it.
I was too a little bit.
But then, so were other people. Although,
She still appears for that, split second or whatever. But
I'm just looking at the TV here because they're showing The Witches of Eastwick.
Oh, I like that. That's a good movie.
Oh, it says actually Carol Strucken as Fidel. Nice coincidence. AKA, the giant.
Yeah, I could swear that he was Carol, like Carol. Carol looks weird to me.
It's got Cher making something out of clay or something.
Because I always thought of him as having a female name, and when it says Carell, I wouldn't have that thought about Carell. It's not the same as Carol. You know what I mean? It's just weird that my brain kept talking. Like when I saw it the other day when you were showing the festival, I'm like, Carell? The hell?
Well, it's just pronunciation. But anyway, the thing that I like about a film like Witches of Eastwick, although I've only seen it maybe once. It's just to look at it now. It's kind of very.
It makes a good double feature with Death Becomes Her.
What the hell?
I feel like they're both similar movies from back then.
The quality of this is shit, so I'm gonna have to just turn it off onto something else. Based on a book by. All right, yeah, it's just because I've got it on standard definition. Films back then and even now, though, one of the big appeals for me and probably many others is that they showed a sort of idealized view of America, for instance, or at least a sort of glowing portrait. And Twin Peaks did that in part. And I do associate some of it with the fact that it was shot on film. A lot of these things, but I think it's possible to still film, however, and it's you can still do it though. It's just more difficult sometimes, perhaps, or they're not taking the time because digital enables them to film everything at a faster rate. So, yeah, and it's not just like I'm talking about, kind of say American Beauty type neighborhoods or something like that, because in that the neighborhood looks kind of dull at the same time, so it's not so idealized in a way. But yeah, you can have
really affected the first time I saw that movie.
But you can watch films like, say,
afterwards,
or recent film like The Drop with it's got James Gandolfini in it, and
what is that? One of his last films?
Yeah, Noomi Rapace and Tom Hardy? Sorry, Tim. And
I saw that. Not to interrupt you, I saw that Ray Liotta is in that Cocaine Bear, and I thought, oh Lord, this poor guy's like, it's going to be one of his last movies, and it's Cocaine Bear. Like, good Lord.
Yeah, but it is actually directed by Elizabeth Banks, and so I think it's.
Oh well.
I was surprised. I thought it's more of just a B movie that was made with no real sort of attempt to make anything half decent. But I mean,
Surely the cocaine would wear off of the bear. I wouldn't be rampaging around for 2.5 hours. Yes.
well, I read a comment on the film that or a summary that basically it's based on
A real
bear
cocaine bear?
that ate
Man,
a load of cocaine and eventually died though.
get
So,
the-
but I just thought like,
That's the kind of world we're living in.
that's not going to be the story of the actual film because
Good
that would
lord.
be rather a anticlimax. It's like a bear goes on the rampage, everyone's scared, and it's kind of comical but also scary. And then it dies. Then that's at the end of the film. I mean, that would be a bit.
James, it's comical for like the first few minutes, but I just can't see it being a movie. I don't know.
Well, I think it's about as
Joke gets old fast.
valid a movie as a lot of things that are turning up now, and
Yeah.
TV shows as well.
The Hello Tomorrow, I think, started yesterday. I really am struggling not to look at it. I kind of want to binge it.
What's that?
That Tomorrowland type thing on Apple Plus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with Billy Crudup.
I don't really have much subscriptions at the moment.
Looks really
because I just realised it was just insane, and you can't have like 100 subscriptions or something. I mean, it's just anyway. I'm subscribed to Disney, and I'm always pleased with anything that I watch on there in terms of picture quality and generally. I mean, I did start watching the Hilary Swank new show on there, something about Alaska, and it's like her just working for a newspaper.
In your country, you don't have problems with the Disney streaming service, like it dipping out or stopping and starting, and it's just the poor quality of the server. It seems to stream.
I don't know about starting and stopping. I mean, it's definitely possible.
I have that a lot. Well, over here happens a lot.
I mean, I seem to have a problem mainly with my Fire Stick connection to the TV, right, where it just restarts, which is annoying. But I mean, what do you do these days? Just Google it, basically. You don't ring up. It depends on how much it happens, but you don't just ring up the TV shop and sort of go, "Oh, my TV just keeps restarting. Can you come out?" Well, what are they going to do? I mean, it's just.
That's one of the unfortunate things about our world now is that everything is automated. You can't call since the pandemic, you can't call up like a Burger King and ask them a question. Nobody answers the phone. It's just there's no.
I don't know about ringing up Burger King, but
I'm telling you, if you call any fast food place here in Chicago, no one will ever answer ever.
You probably could hear, I'm sure, but
when they would before,
I mean, during the pandemic and everything, it has been. For a period, I got somewhat addicted to fast food and ringing up to order stuff, which was insane. It's insane on my part. I honestly don't know what I was thinking, but
it's interesting how because I did the same thing. It's interesting how the food wasn't affected. We weren't scared to eat a burger somebody else made.
No, I mean that's not. Obviously, I was aware of that.
Do you stick things in the microwave to break down the DNA more? Because if it is a disease,
no, I mean
flu or something, a microwave.
No, I just ate them because I was in such a sugar craving, burger eating mood. Which, I mean, and the McDonald's food, it's just so like.
Oh boy, you're taking your life in your hands with that one.
It really was just. It's like you're just sort of inhaling it. There's no. You don't really feel full up or anything. It's just.
You don't savor your burger, your Big Mac.
No, but I'm just saying, there's nothing to savor. Like, are you all right there?
Yeah. That sauce. That Thousand Island sauce. You don't savor
Yeah,
that?
it's not really that good though. That's the thing. Like, I think Burger King is better, but I had a burger yesterday and some fries. It was like the first time I've been out in about 3 weeks into the city, and I just went to get my hair cut
Mm.
and didn't really spend that long there, but it was all right for me. So, and I did enjoy the burger. It was all right, tasty burger, you know.
I was
But
watching. I was watching Timcast a minute ago, and they were talking about there's an app you can get now to do voices. So if we did do that book thing, we could actually program it to like do some of the voices of some of the cast and things like that, reading passages.
Phantom Cooper says that he doesn't understand why you would call a fast food place because they don't get paid anything much.
Because
So why would you expect them to care?
let's say you got an allergy question, or with Popeyes the other day, was the ghost pepper chicken? You out of that? Because I don't want to come up there if you're
We've
out of
only
it.
just got Popeyes here.
Oh, that's just good. I want me some Popeyes.
So that's a voice app, is it? You're talking about?
Yeah, deep fake
Yeah,
voice
but
app that you can load in a celebrity and or whoever you want.
they think it's going to make us sound illegitimate having kind of fake voices coming up and stuff. But we could
But
definitely use that.
they don't sound fake. They sound like who they're supposed to sound like. So you could do like
All
you
right then.
could have Heather Graham say a line, or you know what I mean, like something like that.
Oh yeah, they've got. I'm sure they've got a Heather Graham app.
No,
I
that's what I'm
mean,
telling you. You load in their voice pattern. You take a bunch of clips of them. You load in their voice pattern, and this thing amalgamates
right.
and could spit out new sentences and things like this. I think I heard one the other day was like Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan talking about like the deeper levels of Super Mario, but it's not real. They never talked about that, but it sure sounds like them talking about it.
They
Like
should have been talking about that. I think.
you wouldn't know, you know. You would not know. I want the
Trapped in Plastic says I've got abs of steel now since I've gone the opposite way. Takeaway is the past for me. But
Oh,
now,
I thought you
but
meant opposite way, something else. I got you. Like abs of steel. What?
she just eats Brussels sprouts mainly at the moment.
Oh, yeah. I'm about to have some with balsamic and bacon.
Well, I don't. I will just say to Trapped in Plastic, this is not the place for just boasting about your diet.
What's the app? Yeah, I don't know. The Timcast I was watching is the new one with Jimmy Dore because I wasn't gonna go back to Tim since that whole controversy thing. He's kind of been grating on my nerves. But Jimmy Dore I couldn't resist, so I was watching it today.
What's Timcast?
Tim Pool. He's like one of
Oh,
the bigger podcasters, multi-millionaire, living in that compound. On there's a cartoon called Solar Opposites on Hulu, uh, voiced by Justin Roiland, and I guess not anymore, probably because he got in trouble too. But on that show, Solar Opposites, they have a B plot line where people live inside a wall because it's about an alien family, and the alien family shrinks these people down. They live in the wall, and it's all about Tim and his compound of people on the real show, but in the fake cartoon. They even named the guy Tim, and he knows all. He's trying to straddle the fence of this side and that side. It's totally Tim Pool. They call it the words of Tim, something like that.
all right. Well, let's just talk about films for a bit. Maybe the Cameron actually mentioned a film not so long ago to people on the Twin Peaks Worldwide page, saying if you're a fan of Twin Peaks, this one could be
And what's
one that
that?
you like.
Wait a minute. What's that mean, Phantom Cooper? Is that a jive at me because I listen to Tim Pool? I just said I haven't been listening to him lately. I tuned in for Jimmy Dore.
Well, let's just drop that now. I don't even know who Tim
Okay.
Pool is, and
Okay.
so I don't know what
Tim Pool.
the film that Cameron was talking about was The Hotspot with Jennifer Connelly and Don Johnson, etc. in it. Another female star, but I can't remember who.
Boy, I don't know. I don't think I know
It's
that.
a sort of erotic thriller, and it was directed by Dennis Hopper. And it was funny because that day or the day after, I was going past the book phone box here where people, it's no longer functioning as a phone box. People just leave, books in there, and one of them was Colors, which is a tie-in novel, or I don't know if it was. Oh, it's based on the screenplay. This is a book for another film by Dennis Hopper.
I'm sorry. Yeah, okay? Cool. Are you saying that in your country that the phone box has become like a book deposit thing?
Yeah, it's only like an
that's
old
so
phone
cool.
box, like a red one. But yeah, I mean, it's quite
That's
good if
pretty-
you want to just get free stuff. But
That's pretty neat repurposing.
I have noticed some people. There has been a man who comes along each week and he'll like nick books. But so I am policing that. If I see that happening, I might.
Aren't the books there to borrow and use and then trade?
Yeah, well, I nick this one.
Good job.
I didn't put one in, but I have put ones in the past. In the past, I actually put in Reflections, the book about there was Twin Peaks interviews by Brad Dukes, because I just wanted to disavow myself from Brad Dukes, and so I hope somebody enjoyed it.
Colors sounds familiar to me.
It's the film got Robert Duvall, Sean Penn, directed by Dennis Hopper. It's just an LA cop film.
Oh,
It's about Crips and Bloods. That's what it says in the back.
Sean Penn plays the green cop in that. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I remember this.
Yeah, he plays Danny McGavin, a trigger-happy rookie, ready for the kill.
Yeah, I remember. And pretty much, it's a pretty good movie actually. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, and I mean, I sort of was thinking, I've got to watch some more Sean Penn films, but like any actor, his films very much vary and everything. And like this last week, I wanted to watch Mystic River, though.
He plays. He's in a movie where he plays a one of the more famous guitar players from like the 1920s. That's a very good movie. The one of his that stood out to me. I can't think of the name of the. It's just a real guy that used to play guitar. Can't think of who it is.
Sorry, what are you talking about now?
Sean Penn film where he's like a 1920s, like one of the world's most famous guitar players.
I thought you were going to talk about that gangster
plays
film.
Jazz guitar. That's one of the movies of his that stood out, like, to me.
Well, he's been just so prolific for such a long time now.
In more ways than one, or more ways than acting. Yeah.
But then he made the film with Taken director even recently called The Hitman, or more recently-ish, kind of.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one.
Well, not everyone would necessarily view it as being the best film ever made, I imagine, but just the fact that it's directed by the same one who did Taken, it makes me want to watch it. But Penn's arms in the film, like, he looks like he's got an older man's head on this just sort of pumped body with like the veins, and his arms are just really big and veins coming out of them. Like it just looks like he's on the same thing that, say, Sylvester Stallone was on when he made, Rocky Balboa. It's like arms just pumped up to the max. I mean,
speaking of Rocky, what do you think about that Creed 3?
Human growth hormone. I don't think anything, because if it's not got Rocky in it, it's just too. I would go and see it at a push, but at the same time, there's nothing really.
I just feel bad for him that
just another boxing film. I mean,
they're making this thing without his blessing. I mean, that just seems wrong to me.
Well, anyway, let's just go back. Just about Mystic Pizza, I just wanted to show you this.
Mr. Hopper.
Like the Sean Penn character in it is a real. nasty person, really, I would say. But his childhood friend Kevin Bacon does this gesture at him at the end of the film, which is directed by not Stallone, Clint Eastwood, of course. And when I saw him do that in it, it made me think immediately of Red in Twin Peaks, who does that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I wouldn't mention so much this kind of stuff if it wasn't for the fact that Francesca Eastwood was in the end of Twin Peaks as well. And Clint Eastwood does himself do TM, apparently. Not that that's particularly... See here, when he does that, I was thinking to myself, I mean, this is not really something that's associated with this country, but I mean, you can read it lots of ways, I'm sure. Why is he doing that at Shelley?
So this movie's directed by Dennis Hopper?
No, it was Clint Eastwood, Mystic River. Surely you've seen that one.
Oh, Mystic River. Okay.
You were Tim Robbins and
I
Kevin
see what
Bacon.
you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And I'm just saying, with Mystic River, a lot of the plot is basically around child abuse, isn't it? Because the Tim Robbins character was abducted when he was young, and it just effed him up.
Man, yeah, Renault looks so creepy back there in that scene. Like, my God, he just looks evil. I don't know.
Well, I think actually in that scene they put him in that shot.
Yeah, that was the first. I think that was.
He wasn't actually in the background though. They did it.
Yeah, I remember
somehow so that he would be in the same shot because they'd got so few shots of Walter when they were making it, because he was dealing with all of his health issues. Like, he was sort of propped up behind the bar pretty much because his leg had gone off.
The first time I see you see him in what, episode 4, I think it is, or 1. The first time I saw him in the bar, I didn't know that was
Episode 2, really, yeah.
Jean-Jacques, like this other cousin or whatever. Like, I thought, oh, this is another reality where he's still alive. You know what I mean? So that kind of, I thought that was a clue originally to the fact that Laura would be somewhere else, you know? Alive, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be a variant of the same character, but just with a different name. Like,
no, I thought it was the same character, is what I'm saying. But
that's what I mean. It
we're
is
on a different
literally
plane of existence, you know.
It is literally the same character, but if it's on a different plane of existence, then it's not exactly the same character, is it? It's a variation, because
it wasn't.
There's no way that Carrie Page could actually be Laura within that reality, could she? Because Laura was definitely killed. So,
but apparently not. You know what I mean? I mean, if you read the book,
but within a different reality.
That's what I'm saying.
Only within a different reality, not because there is still
you know what? It's not even. It's a different reality, but it's not even that. It's a changed timeline, because you're in the same reality. I mean, it's all the same reality, really, but it's just an altered timeline, in essence. You know what I mean? That these people live different lives. They are the same people. They went through the same things up until a certain point when Cooper made that, change in the woods. Everything was the same for them. So in essence, they are still the same people. It's just it played out different. You know what I mean? So when we
but the same thing is true of, like, the fact that Cooper is making that gesture and everything, but the reality is he's not necessarily responsible entirely for how things have turned out. It's just that his sort of wishes and meddling, etc., has affected things, and then there's been a counter effect to that, or counter attack by the Black Lodge, in that they, don't want him to turn things on their head and make everything into a happy ending. So that's why we get the ending what we do, where
I think that's
Carrie Page is living in this kind of shitty place with.
I think that's a metaphor for Sarah's pain. Like, it can never truly be erased. So I think
it can only be almost like replayed, but in different shapes, where Laura is now this woman who's, like, completely numb to things going around her, that she doesn't really even seem to care that there's a guy just dead on her chair, and there's loads of buckets everywhere as if someone's been shitting themselves. I don't know what's been
Well,
going on
you
for
know
her.
what? You know what I thought? She on the original timeline in the original show before we had extra 19 hours or whatever. We were always under the impression that Coop Dale and her were sharing dreams together, that they were seeing each other in each other's dreams. So I figured
Well, yeah, definitely.
if Carrie Page probably is still having dreams with him in it, you know what I mean? Because she's not gone.
Dick Tremaine was having his own dreams of little Nicky. Someone wrote an article, even like there's always a new one, like every week, saying how Dick Tremaine, Lucy, and Andy are the key to Twin Peaks.
Okay, so
Because
here's what I can't figure out about that, James. The Adam Sandler movie Little Nicky, where it's the kid of the devil, right? And then we always hear Lucy is the daughter of the devil. There's that series too, and that there's multiple series now of Lucy the daughter. So I've heard of Lucy in mythology. I've never heard of this Little Nicky. So I'm wondering, does Little Nicky originate in Twin Peaks with this? Them imagining this kid is little. You know what I'm saying? Is that kid being named Little Nicky of the Devil? Is that
um,
is that something from mythology I don't know about from before Twin Peaks? I can't seem to pinpoint that, figure it out. You know, if anybody knows,
yeah, I think the old Nick is the name for the devil,
what
isn't it?
like Saint Nick, like that Nick that visits people. Is that who we're talking about? But no, I wouldn't associate. Maybe Nicodemus is a little, but that's a biblical name. It's not even that don't even make sense. It's just where's this Nicky? Yeah, where's that Nicky thing originate? I would love to know.
Okay, well,
Well, what are
that
the books there for if not to take and read? I thought that was the whole point. It's a community, you know,
thanks
knowledge.
to
Here's my knowledge.
Gary for this image here, by the way. This is a new music project. That's all I can say about it. I don't really know what else to say.
Yeah.
But on the topic of the devil and everything, though, just wanted to show these messages this week
It's
from.
it's a hell of a way to get your band noticed. Just naming it after, like, oh, yeah, we're called Garmin Bosia. You know, like I don't know.
Well, I just wanted to show this powerful bit of writing here. I says to Davrin, "No, you have a penchant for just repeating yourself ad nauseum, and then you keep mentioning Cameron after he blocked you." Davrin said, "Yeah, I see what you mean. In all probability, Cameron's dead to me now." And then I said, "I would opt for a less tragic sounding expression of it." So
Why so harsh, bro? Why so harsh?
on Davrin's part, it's like he's actually
Yeah.
feels like it's the end of a relationship or something. With I wish people within the Twin Peaks community acted in a sort of way which was understandable. I mean,
It's all
and
about
also take responsibility for their own actions. Like,
where's the Zen? Yeah.
but the reason is like he kept going on about various things related to people trolling Cameron and stuff and Jamie, and then he won't, sort of just face up to the fact that he did that. That's what causes it. So it doesn't really matter how long he may have supported people online. If you do things like that, there's going to be consequences. So,
Well, that's why I'm always a total free. I don't care what anybody says. I'll never block them. I'm a total free speech advocate because on the internet, you're always going to misconstrue the tone of what somebody else is typing, because a lot of people don't even use correct like punctuation to emphasize such and such and so and so. You got your all caps messages. They sound loud, right? Like, I mean, people. There's an interpretation there where the viewer is reading the text and interpreting what is the intention of the person on the other side, and I think a lot gets lost in translation.
Well, that's definitely true. It can happen, but at the same time, there are other people who can behave in a way which is designed to irritate people. So,
Mm.
if I think if they carry on doing that excessively, then they can only expect that some people might block them. For instance, not everyone's going to be as sort of totally open to just people harassing each other as you might be, for instance. Because a lot you just go on like Twitter.
Attention is
And
attention. When you have a channel and you need views and clicks,
all
anybody,
right, but yeah, this
even
is a
if
good
it's
example.
negative attention, you're still getting their.
All right, negative attention. Then is
No,
that a
it's,
good thing? Just as an example, in this country, this woman went missing, right, and she was
yeah.
uh, presumed having gone into a river and drowned. But for over, how long? This other day, somebody from a YouTube channel went looking in this abandoned house near where she went missing, and also digging up what they said was disturbed ground on a video. I mean, that's
Oh,
just, you know, that's
yeah.
totally disrespectful. Because today, in fact, a body was found, and I presume it's her because
Well, you
it's
know
not like.
what? That uh, yeah, I wonder if he's fucking around with that Randonaut app because that was the original way that became popular. People were finding bodies that weren't investigators; they were just normal people. It was very unusual, you know. It almost sounds like something like that. In the show, they just imagine little Nicky as a devil. Yeah, but dude, everything has the esoteric, deeper meaning and symbolism. Wait, what was the whole message? I didn't finish it. Hey,
Oh,
I want to get to the bottom of this little Nicky thing. I don't think Lucy is a biblical myth or demonology either. That's a very contemporary American name.
well, I
Well,
just wanted to mention something whilst Cameron might still be in the chat. Okay, can we stop talking
Lucifer.
about? Can we just stop talking about what you want to talk about for 1 second, please?
Yeah, sure.
I
But
just,
Lucifer,
I just,
yeah.
can I just finish? I just want to mention. I was bringing up those pictures earlier and stuff of Red, and he does that pointing, for instance, the
Right.
sort of like the gun symbol
It's exactly like that. Yes.
at Shelley. And what was quite interesting is um, basically, actually, in if you watch the film Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood, he also does that in that. It's a
Uh,
whole, and but anyway,
hmm.
I wouldn't mention it probably so much if it wasn't for the fact that in If I Walk With Me, when he says fell a victim, Pierre Tremont also just does this pointing thing like this.
That's a beautiful tie
And
together.
many people have including Cameron, have often associated Red with Pierre because of the fact that he says,
Yeah.
that his grandma says that he's a magician, and then obviously in the return, Red does that whole sort of fantastical magical trick with the coin, doesn't he? So
Yeah, I just wonder why. I don't know. It feels like so much is missing, like the later part of their character, like his character.
well, Cameron has said that he was told by you know Mrs. Reba, who owns the house,
Mm-hmm.
that there was actually a trailer there for Balthazar Getty as well when they were filming the scenes with Carl McLaughlin and Cheryl Lee at the
Really,
house. So I mean,
dude,
if that
that's
if
huge.
that's the case, then that could be
Oh, bro.
it could
Yeah,
it's either a mistake, as in they were filming something else that wasn't used, like in the general area. But then they didn't film in Everett as a whole. They filmed just around North Bend for the rest of the show, from what
yeah,
I know anyway. Uh, and the only more optimistic possibility is that they filmed something extra and then it's just never been used.
yeah. Because
I mean, I think
Red seems
Red
like a
being
really violent character that to me, like someone that had a more hardcore scene that we're just not we didn't see for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know actually why not, because I think,
Mm.
the way Getty was playing him in those scenes, or in the scene we saw him in, or two scenes really, was really good, especially obviously the Richard Horne scene.
He was one of the only like threatening, ominous things in the background, around the town. Like, seemed like, besides Richard. Richard was out of his fucking mind, but I don't know.
Well,
It seems weird, and it's the fact that they had that such a heart to heart together made me think that there was more to Red. That just something like he struck me as the one who would be possessed, or nowadays, or something like along those lines.
yeah, I know what you mean.
I like your
Almost.
town. I like your town. It just sounds like you're taking over the whole town. Like, this tone.
Well, yeah, it's a bit of a. It's sort of like a grandiose thing said, that seems even
Aggressive.
for a kind of a criminal sort to be a bit beyond, a bit supernatural almost. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and that
do
kind of
wonder.
thing would.
I do wonder if it's the drug, like you're saying, but yeah, I mean, it just
Well, I think the drugs and everything are only just
we,
amplifying what is already in the air anyway.
well,
You know,
you
the
speculated that maybe Richard was hallucinating the whole coin thing. You know what I mean? But I tend to believe that was, what was
well, I think no, I think that
something.
I think that Red was doing an actual trick, but what happened is that the drug made it seem even more like slowed time down and things like that. As in the way we saw the spinning of the coin, it was like a slowed down kind of
Yeah, it made me.
close up of it, and it as Cameron actually highlighted himself on the Twin Peaks Worldwide page, that there was that spinning coin shot in the black not black Dead Dog Farm scene where Cooper looks into buying somewhere to live in Twin Peaks, and he gets taken to that Dead Dog Farm, and he goes there just on the basis of a coin spin because the coin lands on that file that's showing that house, and he says, like, as you would, like, oh, Dead Dog Farm, that sounds reeling. And that was an actual. That was It almost looked like a set somehow, but it would have been a rather big set for a TV show. So, no, it was an actual place in California there, and I think the house has since been either demolished or cleaned up or something. So,
Well, obviously you notice that it's not a house when we go back there. It's like some warehouse building with an elevator.
no, I'm not talking about the return. I'm talking about in season 2.
I'm just saying, like, what's that about? It's not even like. Is it another place called Dead Dog Farm too? Like,
the one in the return is not called Dead Dog Farm. It's just called the farm.
oh, the farm. Okay,
and
I assumed it was Dead Dog Farm. Then
it's in a different state even and stuff. But the fact that the name obviously resonates was deliberate. Yeah. It was supposed to remind you of that kind of thing.
Puzzle pieces, man. Freaking puzzle. That one,
because there's no farming going on there in any normal sense, is there?
It just feels to me like the return is like the edge of the puzzle, and we never got the meat. Like, where's the meat, David? I want to see the meat. That unrecorded night that I keep wondering what happened. Yo.
Well, I don't know how many films from 1951 or whatever, black and white Hollywood films, Lynch has been watching for inspiration to write Unrecorded Night or anything like that, because I got this idea from there's a follower on here called Isabella Mars, I think her name is, and she's been uploading some of these like VHS uploads from early films from that era, and there's one called The Hollywood Story or something like that, and they're just films you would never even think of, like you know how people always said that Twin Peaks was inspired by Peyton Place.
Yes, somewhat. But didn't he write
You
on
know,
page?
in this country, we had a similar situation where they would make these B movies that were, the supporting feature of them, and they were sort of obviously less impressively made, and they pumped these things out a bit. I just get a feeling that this is the kind of thing that interests Lynch in some sense, apart from, obviously loving a film like Sunset Boulevard, because in a way, Sunset Boulevard was just like a better made B movie, wasn't it? Really?
No, no. I would say that it is a classic, almost like for a Peaks fan, it's required viewing. I would put it in that category of like something like Vertigo, or what's another one? There's a few movies that like go along with this narrative that if you don't see those movies, you're kind of losing something that's in the story. I feel like I'm trying to think of there's a few of them. I guess I personally haven't seen The Little Girl Hill. I don't know if that's one.
Laura from 1944.
Laura, that's another one. Very good. Yeah.
Were you going to say The Little Girl That Lives Down the Lane? Or? I mean, that's a completely different kind of film.
I would say it was a required viewing, stuff like that. Yeah, there's a few more if I can think of them. But, I want to put them. I want to get the posters and kind of cut them out and put them in my Bookhouse Boy book, along with that Twin Peaks event that happened at the real life.
In a leather bound folder, you mean?
Well, no, I bought the. Part of the Showtime sold like this little Bookhouse Boy book, but it was blank pages. So I guess you fill in the pages. And I always thought like, oh, this would be a cool place to put theories and things that have to do with the story that you wouldn't necessarily, like if a new viewer came along, you wouldn't necessarily know about Laura, the film.
Yeah, it was basically just a notepad that they were trying to sell by.
Right, but my, I thought, why not be creative and make it into something? You know what I mean? Because they did leave it blank. It was kind of like, oh, like I didn't know it was going to be blank when I bought it.
So you weren't, but you weren't like
I just
Voltaire.
thought,
He just put all pictures of like nude women in his. So
no, but you could. I suppose The Shining would be another one, or Eyes Wide Shut. I think that's maybe another one. With the mask, it's like David puts the mask down, and then Kubrick puts almost that same mask on the pillow. It's like these two directors are talking a symbolic language back and forth to each other in a way. To me.
Well, I will mention something else that I've watched on Netflix. I watched All Quiet on the Western Front, which has been up for an Oscar and all that. But it's a German film. So
been up for an Oscar back in the day?
No, it's a brand new one. It's a brand new film. So
is that the German? Is that the German one with the war?
Yeah.
Okay.
First World War.
So. It was. Yeah. You like it? I liked it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I thought it was okay overall, but it was probably not as good as I was hoping it would be.
Really?
I found it a little bit like it's.
I mean, how many of these stories can we tell is one thing, and when you take that into consideration, I think it stands up, kind of.
Yeah, it does, but it's fairly just the same tone throughout, and I didn't. I didn't really feel like I got to know any of the characters in it in a way. That was.
Well, that's probably
I mean,
how it was in the war to a certain extent, because people were dropping all the time around you.
well, yeah, I'd definitely say it did. As an impression of war and the reality of it, then yeah, okay,
People
it's
come and
definitely
go.
impresses on that level, but
People would,
it's so. I mean, it's quite a long film as well, and visually it was like 4K, and it certainly looked good. I thought the soundtrack was decent as well, but also at the same time repetitive, like that kind of. They had this sort of synth type effect thing with this thing going on,
Mhm.
and, but it showed you the mechanical nature of everything within the war and just how it was just persistently hellish, really. It definitely, didn't give you any of the. It was the opposite of what some films portray, whereas there's a certain degree of machismo or kind of
Oh,
macho
yeah. No, it
gunko war aspect.
didn't sugarcoat that at all. No,
There's no slow motion platoon moments or anything like that. Not that.
it
Not
kind of felt like Paths of Glory a little bit to me,
right. Well, that I should watch that then.
with
So,
that the tragedy of that oppressive tragedy of war. That this is all meaningless kind of thing. Like, what are we
oh
really?
well,
Are our
of
egos
course.
leading us to our ruin? You know.
Well, I mean, it gives the impression that the First World War was completely meaningless. I mean, the amount, like 14 million dead, it was just insane. And it was all based around mostly the trenches, where they were just fighting these endless battles by the sounds of things, as it said at the end, and they weren't advancing at all. Just,
Yeah. How
but I mean,
important?
and it didn't
How
even show
important?
people suffering from trench foot. So,
How important was what's his name? Was the Archduke Franz Ferdinand? How important was this guy that the whole world had to get involved? It's like, whoa.
well,
from,
it's not
from
like
a,
the whole world's really involved. Just that there's basically these people in charge, and I do think actually one thing that I did think that it showed very well was the sort of isolation and splendor of the people who were in charge, and how
oh yeah,
not necessarily all of them were complete assholes, but some of them definitely were, and it was all ego, and it was all just measuring their dicks basically, and just trying to one up me. One guy, the German guy, he just never wanted to stop, even once the armistice was called. So yeah, and then they just lived in this like palatial splendor with what looked like really good food and
yeah,
drink and all this kind of stuff. So.
yeah. Check out Paths of Glory, because it would make a great double feature with that, actually. It's the
It,
same kind of. It shows the same kind of thing from a different perspective. It's the first Kubrick movie that really has all the Kubrickian type of feel to it, and intellectual, where he was able to control the film, kind of, where you could feel his I don't know what's the word, gravitas or whatever.
him basically having his artistry to
A guy who would have boxes and boxes of research for whatever movie he was doing, that kind of thing.
we can just see the power of Kubrick in many ways because of the substantiality of his films, with the continued popularity of The Shining online. In terms of YouTube videos, I know people are partly making them because they want to get views and stuff, but also they must obviously like making the video and they love the film. So
Yeah.
yeah, there are just sort of some people who come up with the strangest sort of theories, where some people are saying that basically the entire film is coming purely from Wendy's mind, and stuff like this. But
Well, recently I have entertained that theory, and I could see where they're coming from a little bit. That maybe.
well, yeah, I'm not suggesting I can't see that she's obviously experiencing things through her filter and everything as a character.
Not obvious at first, but she is the only one that hallucinates any kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, well, no, I guess Jack sees the bartender, but
I think Jack definitely hallucinates.
As far as like ghosts or skeletons, things like that, the more outlandish types of thing, But yeah,
right. But that's in line. Like the bit where she sees all the skeletons was deleted from the UK cut, and
so was a lot of the subtext of the other.
When I saw the full version, I was like, they shouldn't have cut this out. This was like really good, and it's it's perfectly exhibiting how Wendy is. It says that Jack says at the start that she's a horror novel addict or something, and that is perfectly in tune with that. Like it's more of a traditional kind of horror moment, whereas the rest of the film is not like that at all. So,
who would even think to do something like that? Like,
yeah, maybe it's her mind, like trying to cope with the things that she's seeing in a way.
Because if you really think about the ending that Kubrick cut, where it's her and Danny talking to Mr. Ullman, right?
Oh, in the hospital.
Yeah, if you think about that ending, she's the only one that killed anybody. She killed her husband. She left him out there in the cold. You know what I mean? Like that's what really happened.
No, Jack. Jack.
Maybe from her point of view, Jack freaked out.
Jack axed Halloran in the stomach.
Well, okay, yeah,
that was definitely real.
Yeah, okay, yeah. See, that's where. If you want cool theories, I go to the One-Eyed Jack.
But on the other hand, you could say that the entire film is basically the hotel, cursing everybody. So Jack wasn't fully responsible for what he did. He was just being taken over by the power of the hotel, which sort of wanted to contain him somehow, possess him, and have him there as this. Figure which would become reincarnated time and time again, that sort of idea.
Maybe
just like with not Halloran, the guy who axed.
We never for sure see the guy, the Grady he mentions, Ullman mentions in the beginning.
There's two different Gradys. There's Delbert and Hubert or something.
I almost wonder if that's what the picture represents. That he was there before, and he is Grady, literally. You know what I mean? Hold on, I gotta help my grandparents for a second. All right.
Okay.
Let's take some chats.
Well, there's less people chatting at the moment because of the. Because of the time, probably. I can only apologise for the time change. Yeah, Gary, I mean, that's true. But on the other hand, his preferred cut was initially the US cut. And then what Kubrick loved was just carrying on editing even after when there was an agreed, final edit. Never mind, Warner Brothers must have said, okay, this is the final edit for the US release. Yeah. And so they released it. And then Kubrick he would have been probably one of the few, if only, directors who would have been allowed to go back and say, right, I'm going to make changes to the UK cut and European cut because for whatever reason, like as in maybe they thought that the box office in the US wasn't as good as it could have been. But I think all of that would have been just used as an excuse to just enable Kubrick to make two different edits of the film, which I imagine he would have wanted to do from the off, probably, even subconsciously, so that he could then be happy with the fact that he ended up doing two different edits of a mainstream release horror film, which is unbelievably predicting. Well, it predicted really how we've become. With Doctor Sleep when that came out. I saw it at the cinema. It was 2.5 hours. Then there was the 3-hour version, but that's theatrical and then home release. So I think Kubrick always liked the idea, the uncanniness, or just the strangeness of having two separate cuts of the film, because those scenes that were in the full US version are really good. The extra scenes with Wendy and Danny, the extra scenes with Halloran just going along on the road towards the Overlook and traveling, which are all quite sort of mundane scenes.
What I find really weird about The Shining is the fact that Danny is really named Danny and Jack is really named Jack. Shelley is Wendy, which is an indie, type of sound, but it's not exact. But it's just weird, like that he would choose people. It gives it more of that feel of like you're not sure what's real, and how much does this have to do with real life or real American
Yeah,
family.
there's something of that in it, definitely. I think like I was saying when you went here, in terms of I think that Kubrick always would have wanted to do two separate cuts of the film and release one stateside and then this shorter version for the UK audience and European, etc. Because I think that in itself just gives him this sort of uncanny aspect where people know there's a different version. And even the way I discovered, like I saw it originally with my friend when I was about 10, right?
Mhm.
He rented it on video for us, and we sat there in the middle of the day on a warm day, sunny outside, and watched The Shining. And like when those twins started appearing and stuff, I was literally like, oh, this is too. I didn't like it, and we paused the film after a while and then had a breather and then went back and finished it. And it just shows, how much we enjoyed it. But
It was a ghost story when you saw it when you were a kid, though, right? It was until later that you really thought, like, oh, this
not
is,
really, well, it was and wasn't. I mean,
you know what I mean?
I think we were definitely aware that it was about the dad, going off into craziness, and I mean, it's obviously a man slamming an axe into a
Yeah,
door,
yeah. It's hard to get around that one. Yeah,
but I think those scenes weren't as scary to us as the ghost stuff, because or the uneasiness. I think there was probably for us as well, especially at that age, there would have been an undernote of or underpinning of sort of sexual unease. Because I mean, we were 10-year-old, and there's like that woman in the shower and everything, and
subliminal. Yeah,
like people say that's a beautiful woman and stuff, but it's kind of
Mm.
even her nature as appearing there is strange. Like she's not a totally stereotypical beautiful woman. She's kind of very almost like one of these emaciated models, isn't she? A bit, and
we're back then, I suppose.
well, she looks a little bit strange, and because she's so slim, like when her leg comes out of the bath, it's like, So, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying like when she turns into more the older lady.
Do you ever
That
notice? Do you ever notice
I was loving that. But
you ever notice there's two shower heads there, and they disappear when he cuts back? Like
do you mean
when she's coming out.
do you mean at the top?
Yeah, at the top, there's two shower heads. There's a big head and a little head, and is that subliminal for the big head and the little head? And that is one of the, like, the chair later on when he's typing, how it disappears and comes back in scenes. Those shower heads actually do that in the scene. They disappear, like from the same angle. You know what I mean? Because everything's at this. After it weaves in there, everything is at this. It's almost like a painting type of angle. Like asymmetrical.
Well, there's a lot of that kind of stuff in the film anyway. Like the famous one is obviously the chair and the table behind him when he's writing.
Yeah, that's what I
Right?
mean.
Kubrick actually would go into the shots and he would love messing around with what was in the shot between takes, but then not really talking about it, just carry on filming. So it was him.
Nobody's in the entourage of Kubrick people ever talks about deleted scenes of any movie. It makes you wonder.
Well, also, like when the only way that, for instance, logically, Jack could have known about the history of the place and the fact that the Grady incident happened is he's got these scrapbooks, hasn't he, that are full of old newspaper cuttings, and you can see them on the table, in front of him. And
well, he's told about Grady in his interview, you know.
Yeah, but the fact that he's researching it more as well is like it suggests that there was more shots, more scenes of him like flipping through that and reading it and close-ups and things like that. Like you would have in a more traditional horror film, you would have shots of that kind of stuff, wouldn't you? Of these stories that happened before and all that. And
Do you think he sees himself when he first goes in there? That's him dusting the shelves. This is like a guy wearing the same stuff he's wearing at the end of the movie. It looks just like him, but it's kind of face-facing.
Well, I don't know. I think that people often compare the guy he sits next to in the interview as resembling Jack Nicholson a bit, but I never saw it personally, but people compare.
Not the guy in the interview. It's later. It's when Wendy and he's getting the tour, and they're in the big hall. They're in the big hall room, the lobby type of room.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
he walks past the guy and he actually looks at him and stops for a minute and like stops his gait, takes a good look and keeps going. And that guy is wearing his outfit from towards the end when he goes crazy. I don't know.
There's a lot of doppelgangers and things like that in it. Like when they're moving in and they go upstairs to where
they see,
where their digs are going to be. They've got like this kind of family room, haven't they? And there's two women who pass by who look almost like twins. So
yeah,
and Jack makes an obvious glance towards them as well. Not more.
Yeah, I almost wonder if that's the twins grown up ghosts.
More than you would expect someone who's like a family man. He's immediately interested in more than just
hell yeah.
And that's not just Jack Nicholson. That's and then there's a shot later on when he's really angry when he goes storming out after some disagreement with Wendy, and he looks straight into the camera as he exits the bedroom.
That's what I mean. It's not when you're an adult. It's more of a story of sexual frustration than anything. I feel like.
Well, yeah, sexual anger.
It's not really about ghosts. You know what I mean?
To be honest, actually, when you think about it, it does make sense because of how Shelley Duvall was a very slim woman, wasn't she? Oh, what is this?
A relatively attractive woman.
Oh, no, she was definitely attractive, but she was very slim looking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. Someone was just trying to ring me. But so she kind of, fits with the woman who's in the shower, isn't she? In a way, like. And that
would be like an idealized version of her, like a blonde version of her, in a way. Like,
well, in terms of like just Hollywood. Someone keeps trying to call me on something,
but he's large and he's mine. Makes me think of her Popeye song. But he's large. I just love the way she delivers that line. So corny.
Sorry, it's just I'm getting like freaked out because somebody was calling me called Jessica Love, who I've not even added or anything.
It's Courtney Love's second cousin.
With obviously fake.
Huh? Put her on the venue. Let's see this lady. Come on, lady.
I can't even figure where this person is calling from. It's obviously just a fake account. So,
how do you know that? What do you mean it's obvious? How do you know? It doesn't sound like a bot to me. Just because somebody's named Love, that's just a pseudonyms for the internets, like Mandela Man or something.
Well, I don't know who it is.
Yeah. Yeah. You always prefer the shorter version. Well, I can't agree with you there, Gary.
No, it's some fake person.
I can't think of a movie where I like this. Well, wait. Actually, I watched the Southland Tales extended one, and I do think the shorter cut works. It's the first movie I've ever said that about. But yes, the shorter cut is a little tighter paced for new viewers, especially. If you're a fan, then check out the extended. But every other movie, I would say I prefer the longer cuts of anything, really. Doesn't matter what it is. Snyder Cut. Once Upon a Time in America. I could go on and on. JFK. Natural Born Killers.
My Fellow Americans.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's one of Josh's favorites. Phantom Cooper's mocking, as per usual. I thought The Shining was about the shinning. It's not about shinning. It was about abuse and alcoholism. Not
man, you're watching too many Simpsons episodes for you, bro. The shinning. That was the Simpsons. It's good. Yuck, 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 yuck.
Did you ever see that video that someone made?
That's the surface level as alcoholism. Yeah, it's about that too. But did I see what, James?
The one that was it was like a YouTube video someone made of like a parody of The Shining, where everyone, it was all to do with chickens. It's called the chickening or something like that.
No, but I saw the same week that there was rumors about eggs and chickens having a problem laying eggs. That Saturday Night Live did something like that. It was like a chicken apocalypse skit just recently.
This is definitely better.
Yeah. With Pedro Pascal. Theatrical cut. Yeah, the Donnie Darko is far superior. Yeah, exactly.
No, this is the best version of The Shining, actually. I'll just put this on now so I can watch it.
Chicken is my favorite food. I'll eat the wings and I'll eat the breast. Chicken, it is the best.
Welcome to Charbay's Chicken World and Restaurant Resort. This is the largest fast food entertainment complex in North America, with a subterranean farm, a power plant, and the world's only heated chicken blast fry. And you'll be the new senior chief night manager. Now, does that sound like what you're looking for?
Well, that sounds fine to me.
You call this a sandwich?
Yeah, I know.
It sounds all electronic and glitchy there, James.
No, that's you.
Oh, is it? Oh, my bad.
Can you just make sure, just try and...
I'll be back.
What about me? Get back in the kitchen and make me a real sandwich before I give you a crack in the mouth, maybe straighten out your eyes. Oh, yeah. Let's get the hell out of here.
Here's Johnny. Charlie's Chicken World and Restaurant Resort is going completely insane. Never tried Charlie's?
We've got a big surprise coming to you.
Introducing our new and amazingly tasty volcanically activated extreme dipping sauce, the Shiny.
They'll love it.
Charlie's Chicken World and Restaurant Resort with over 237 attractions in Mount Spalsey on Highway 272.
We'll blindfold the chicken with tiny little band-aids, and then we just drown them in the spicy barbecue sauce and pluck all the tail feathers with a shop vac and a pair of surgical clamps.
Do you mind if I ask why you do that?
Alfonso, do you mind just keeping it down a bit? The big people are talking here. And other than that, no other problems. Oh, except the toilets sometimes receive volcanic pressure blasts that explode feces all over the walls of the bathroom, I'm afraid.
Hello.
Volcano sauce pressure tank is located in room 237. So we gotta go into room 237 and take out the volcano sauce pressure tank.
Room 237?
Yeah, room 237. 237. Am I not speaking clearly? You just gotta go in there and distract that big crazy chicken so me and Tony can plant the explosive.
Who's Tony?
Who the fuck am I? Who the fuck are you, you green-ass piece of shit?
Mr. Torrance, hello! How are you? Okay, would you like to try the new experimental sauce, the shiny volcano sauce?
I'm awfully glad you asked me that, Lloyd.
Well done, okay, listen up. We have a spicy, a super spicy, tasty spicy. We have a super shiny spicy, and we have a super duper shiny spicy suicide sauce. Hey! It has the essence of a real natural volcano right into the inside of
Reg rum, Reg rum, Reg rum. Oh, sorry, I meant burger. I'm dyslexic, didn't I tell you?
Okay, check.
Ever since we've moved here, you've been acting more and more like a chicken. There's too much pressure. The volcano sauce pipes is gonna blow.
From master director Stanley Kubrick comes a new twist on a classic tale of horror, The Chickening, rated R.
Get back in the kitchen and make me a real sandwich before I give you a crack in the mouth. Maybe straighten out your eyes. Oh! Yeah. Let's get the hell out.
Yeah. Come play with us, Danny. That was my favourite part there. When they were doing this with the hands, with the arms, like, come play with us, Danny. Just to answer Phantom Cooper's last comment, I think that's not really something that I would agree with, in the sense of it's neither incredibly deep, like, you know, reading a James Joyce novel or something, which I presume is pretty deep, but at the same time, you know, I think Kubrick can bring a lot to something, even if the source material might be something which is a straightforward horror novel. It's a film, after all. A film is a completely different proposition to a work of fiction, a work of, writing, as in, you hold it in your hands as a novel.
You know what though? He that was great with the chicken.
Did you see the girls saying, "Come play with us, Danny"?
That was clever to slow it down there. Yeah.
Yeah, but the way they were doing the dancing, I thought that was quite good. If they'd actually included that in the original film, I think it would have made it scarier, really.
On Kubrick, yeah, I would say he elevated that Stephen King book to a whole new height. Like, you know how Jack says stuff like "white man's burden" and stuff. He captured what an '80s family, like the essence of an '80s family. I felt like with the Torrances more in the movie than the book ever does.
Well, like with Kubrick, a lot of his source material, anyway, is not necessarily that deep. If that's what Phantom Cooper wants to see it as.
Phantom Cooper. Go to One-Eyed Jack's channel on YouTube and check out, because he breaks it down a little better than I could ever do. There's like a symbolic language that are built into these later Kubrick movies that there are a few human beings on Earth that it's almost like Jimi Hendrix playing a Stradivarius. He's that kind of a director. And you can't really appreciate it when you're young. It's not until repeat viewings and kind of putting all the work together that you start getting a bigger picture of all these movies are commentaries on like the actual society that they're in. Things like Clockwork Orange. It's you almost first time you see it, you think this is some kind of futuristic society a little bit, but you more and more realize as you watch it over and over again. No, that's just the world they were living in back then. Like these kind of things could happen. You know what I mean? Propaganda can get out of control. The government can overstep its bounds. All that kind of stuff. And
are you still talking about The Shining? What's that got to do?
No, but if all the movies, they all go together. Like if you think about Eyes Wide Shut, it's about the Illuminati's like sex parties, right? But then think about Lolita.
It's not about.
What's then what? If you think about Lolita, that's about an older man seducing like a very younger thing. So it kind of relates to those sex parties in a way. And then you think about Barry Lyndon, and it's like a young man who is low born, who's not supposed to be in the Illuminati, but he becomes friends with them, kind of, and gets in with them, and they sponsor him to come aboard, and they teach him all their how they cheat at cards and how they cheat people in life. Like that's what that whole movie's about. They're all about kind of the same thing. The military stuff that's explored in Barry Lyndon. You can go back to Paths of War, and it all kind of is a commentary on. I feel like on the same thing. Like in Paths of War, it's the higher ups in the military who, once again, that's Illuminati marching orders, basically. I mean, you could use Illuminati as like a blanket term for the New World Order, Bavarian Illuminati, whatever. The Skull and Bones, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's food for thought. Like it's just even Doctor Strangelove again. What's he talking about? He's talking about underground. They have underground bunkers where female ratio is going to be like 10-1, or for the males, and it's Doctor Strangelove even mentions that once again. That's the Illuminati's plans. It's the whole all the movies are about the same thing. From different points of view and doing it in different genres. Here's your ghost story genre. Here's your periodic piece genre. But it's all here's your science fiction 2001. Once again, it's the same. It's all the same kind of story. Pixar kind of does that with their cartoons. They model their cartoons after that Kubrickian kind of world where every story relates to Another one. Not that they're all in the same universe, but it's like a symbolic language. It's a deeper thing, than like a Marvel multiverse or this verse or that verse. It's deeper, I don't know. When you sit back, I know you're like, oh, here comes the rant.
No, it's like got to bear in mind it's 10-1 in the morning for me. So.
Oh, right. I agree. Stephen King's script didn't have any real themes or metaphors. He was mad that Kubrick didn't emphasize with Jack more. Yeah, I mean, Stephen King has his own kind of shared universe or whatever in his works too, but it's not the same thing.
Anyway, I think that's nonsense. I think Kubrick did empathize with Jack anyway, to some degree, obviously. I mean, as much as you can.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's portraying the reality of someone who is an alcoholic, I think, really well in The Shining. That would have resonated with me even as a 10-year-old seeing it. In that, yes, there's a lot of fantasy and sort of supernatural aspects in The Shining, but I do think the reality of Jack's problems, they are indicated quite clearly, almost more so than some films that might just be about, an alcoholic's day or whatever. So
Jack's a writer, and also in Clockwork Orange, there's a writer character. Those are stand-ins for Kubrick. I feel like anytime you see a writer character,
if you look at something like Clockwork Orange, we actually come to empathize with Alex quite a lot, even though he's a completely despicable person, and a criminal and everything. But the thing is, him being administered the Ludovico technique and all of that kind of stuff, it's not the answer, is it, with him? Because he's still always going to have the underlying, illness because of the society that he's in, his parents, etc., who are completely
aloof.
Well, whether he's even living with his parents or they're his grandparents, I don't know. But there's that guy who then pretty much who seems to be abusing him as well. So, which it's
that guy's with the state. Yeah, once again, like it's a controller,
And it seems like with The Shining, the part of the sort of whole thing is that Jack is just completely trapped, or at least he feels he is anyway. Literally within the the house, within the hotel being snowbound, but in terms of his family, so
I feel like Jack as a writer character in The Shining is what it's like to take on responsibilities from these higher up people, because the hotel is kind of like it served to the elite back in the day in 1921. So symbolically,
all the best people.
Yeah, symbolically, it's the writer he's taking on these responsibilities, because he talks about that later. Do you have any idea how my responsibilities, right? In Clockwork Orange,
that's the way he sees it. He, rather than taking on his own responsibility for his own actions, he seems to constantly see that he's doing other people's bidding in some weird way. So, yeah, writers would have ordinarily, like going back in time, been writing only for the sort of the upper classes, who are the only people who would have been reading for both their entertainment, but also for
that comes up in Barry Lyndon. He can't read. That's part of his character, is that or one of the characters in there can't read. I'm pretty sure it's Barry himself. Well, he never learned to read.
It's an interesting thing because of actually, I don't know about Kubrick. I mean, I don't think he has any ideas himself. I know he was a very sort of well-read person and everything, but he didn't sort of just read to better himself. He was obsessive about it. And the typewriter that Jack has, that's the same typewriter that Kubrick liked. But as a matter of fact, that typewriter was the one that was used in the Second World War during the Holocaust. And we get a shot of it, and it's like a lighter grey earlier on. Then then it's changed to a dark grey model.
Well, okay. What I'm saying about the writer is in The Shining, it's a stand-in for, I think, for Kubrick, in the fact that it's a guy taking on the responsibilities of the elite. But in Clockwork Orange,
but to what good are you actually?
That writer,
if you're catering to the elite, the question is, what good is Jack actually doing? Because in a way, the Kubrick would have loved the fact that the typewriter was used by the Nazis, because in a way, it's like all Jack in the end ends up doing is just writing endless lists of, just.
Well, it's a machine too. It's a machine, and the Germans were the best in back then in engineering and stuff like that. So
right, but it's not creative, is it? It just keeps writing the same thing, obviously. So
but if you think of the NASA thing, like, it makes sense because they were all German scientists that work on those rockets and stuff like that.
So it's basically, it's like Jack has been overtaken by a force that he sees, and obviously is within the film, is outside of himself, but he's reduced almost like to a mechanical, like a robot, in that his behavior becomes, well, for instance, when you're drinking and all that, if you've ever done that kind of thing, if you've ever just sort of done it for a laugh, become an alcoholic maybe. So I'm sure Phantom Cooper just decided one day, I'll just become an alcoholic today. And that in itself can be like automated, like an automaton or something. You're just, you're like a robot, basically. You're just sort of doing it for the heck of it, but because it's sort of, obviously partly it's a way of controlling your emotions. But then in terms of the physical effect of it and everything, it just kind of makes you robotic in a sense, until the point of where you will just fall asleep or whatever. So
okay. So Phantom Cooper says not everything is connected. Think about this. In Clockwork Orange, towards the beginning when they're in the milk bar, that's those thugs cohorting with elite people in that milk bar. One singing opera. It's the finer. Those are the people of the finer things, right? Then later in the movie, the writer's wife gets attacked by them, right? So if The Shining is about a writer's responsibilities, taking care of something for the elite, then Clockwork Orange is about what could happen if you spill the secrets, like what could happen to your wife, things like that.
Oh, are you talking about Nose Wide Shot?
I think, yeah. I feel like the writer, it's purposeful. Barry Lyndon's the same kind of thing.
The original novel on which was called something like Sleepwalk or something. It's a German novel, was it? The one that was Eyes Wide Shut was based on. Like, I presume that didn't have quite so much of the, the orgy party and the.
No, and who I heard
that kind of thing.
I would love to somebody to interview her is Cate Blanchett. I heard that her part was that part in the movie that got cut that had to do with the orgy and everything.
What do you mean? She was
Cate Blanchett was in the movie,
but what?
Pretty substantial. That part in the mansion.
She was in there.
Some orgiastic stuff. Yeah,
her voice would have fit into it.
That's what I heard. This is what I heard.
She could have been someone who was like kind of one of the people who was in charge or something. I can imagine that.
She might have even been the girl behind the mask originally. Who knows? But she would. No. She would be the person to ask, like, what were these scenes about? Because it's really, I mean, come on, Warner. It's Warner Brothers, right? I mean, come on, Warner Brothers. You got to have those scenes somewhere. Let's bust them out now.
What do you mean? What these scenes were about? I mean, come on. It's pretty obvious.
It's pretty common. It's pretty common knowledge that there's quite a chunk missing there that got cut out.
That's what people say, but do you not think that that's one of these just rumors that
no, I think
goes on at its own steam just because people want to imagine that there's more of a sexy scene, out there when the reality is what we already saw in the scene was quite sexy enough. I don't really want to see someone just humping a man's buttocks going like this.
It's the same with AI. I feel like something is lost when Spielberg took it over. There must have been something there that they.
Well, we can imagine that, but I think whether there were any scenes that were shot that were not put in it seems highly unlikely. When Kubrick had finished the editing before he
had a way of putting context in a scene. It didn't really. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's storyboarding or what, but he had a way of inserting things in the scene, whether it be a painting in the background or whatever, that would change the meaning of what's going on.
Well, I don't know. I feel like the finished version of Eyes Wide Shut that we've seen feels very Kubrickian. If anything, it could have possibly been edited more if he'd lived longer.
I feel like something's missing there. Something's missing.
No, I don't know. Like what?
Kind of like The Return.
You could say that with any Kubrick film.
Kind of like in The Return when Lucy says something's missing. The Return kind of gives me that same feeling, like about Red and stuff like that.
But I think that's the intention, isn't it? That's part of the trauma, the effect of the trauma in the storyline. As in, you always feel if you're suffering from some kind of.
We're like mourning for a show. Yeah,
basically. Weird. No, it's not just mourning for the show. It's mourning for the loss of
the feel of it.
Basically, Cooper. We don't have him anymore. We don't have. I mean, obviously, it all goes back to the Laura loss, but then just the nature of Twin Peaks. We've lost the town itself. It doesn't feel like Twin Peaks anymore. So we just feel like there's something really missing in the heart of it all, and I think that's the effect they wanted to make. But at least they tried to do something with it as a film. The same thing with Eyes Wide Shut. And to compare it to, say, something that I watched this week, which just made me angry, and I just want to know if you saw it, was The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
No.
Because that is an example of a film that doesn't try to do anything with its, construction and just story. It's just...
I'm one of the people that followed Ed and Lorraine's original research and stuff like that.
Well, no, mate, the first film and then the second film
they're decent.
The second one got on my nerves a bit, but only in a kind of a comical way. This one was just someone put a comment on Rotten Tomatoes saying every establishing shot looks like the ultimate digitized sort of shot of all these locations. And this is the thing I was going to talk about in terms of depictions of America. And obviously we're in the UK, someone might be in France, wherever. They look at these views of America and they like it, don't they? We like seeing these films set in different places. I was talking about that film The Drop, and that was set in, I presume, New Jersey or somewhere like that. And yes, it's not the most beautiful scenery, but they make it look kind of beautiful. Whereas this film, The Conjuring, Jesus Christ, they've got the budget, but they just make the most rudimentary, chiller, exorcism film. And it starts off with the possession of this little boy at the start. And it's he's bending into all contorted shapes with his head poking out underneath his ass and all this kind of thing. And it's just, not only is it just in terms of its, it's not even shocking though. Okay, we were seeing a little boy who's supposed to be about 7 or something with these big dorky glasses, supposed to be in the 70s or early 80s. But it's just not scary at all. You can do whatever the hell you want. Filming doing the spider walk, but it's not The Exorcist. And then they have this bloody actor coming in playing a priest who's supposed to be an exorcist. And it's just it's literally they just found him at minimum wage actor school. And he's just murmuring around it. Yeah, I'll be in there. I'll do the exorcism for you. I promise you. Bye. It's just so bad. It's not good at all. But I think the first 2 were directed by that James Wan, weren't they? Or
were they?
This one isn't. I don't know.
That might explain. Yeah.
As you can see, I'm incredibly angry about this film.
That might explain it.
This one was directed by Michael Chavez.
Never heard of it.
The Conjuring 2, James Wan. Yes, this was one of 2 hours 13 minutes. Conjuring 2, which I mean, I thought it was a bit ridiculous, especially because of the accents and stuff. But it's kind of still at least entertaining.
I'm sure. I heard it was quite short.
There's so many crap horror films made. Like one of the newest ones released has been Pray for the Devil, but I've not seen that one. I mean, they're just so bad. I just can't believe they make these really shit horror films.
That infinity pool looks like something maybe I wouldn't even like. I'm on the edge of.
Is that even a horror? I don't know what it is.
Am I gonna watch this, or is this gonna be one of these torture porn things that I don't like? You know, it's just so lazy to me.
Infinity Pool.
Yeah, Infinity Pool. What's the other one I saw recently? Something about Skinamarink. People have been talking about that a little bit.
Oh, Infinity Pool has got
Mia Goth.
Yeah, she's not mentioned at the start, but it says this film is currently unavailable.
Alexander Skarsgård. It looks pretty weird.
Either you'll be executed, or if you're rich enough to afford it, you can watch yourself die instead. It's again, so it's the
Lord,
the sort of elite kind of
thing
is this, but it's just a tired trope now that just doesn't have any substance to it. They're just wheeling it out.
Yeah, did you happen to see those images from the Grammys? Because it was like full on satanic this year. It was quite weird. Like,
yeah, but I mean, there's an element where these people are doing it just to get attention, and as it's always been. But I mean, the stuff with Sim Smith, that was just for me like, you know, I don't want to see him going around like with his chunky body out. I mean, he lost a load of weight. Now he's put weight on again, and it's like, this is just gross. Who actually? I mean, I suppose the people like his songs, but in the video, I watched the video for his new song, and in the video, it literally looks like that kind of Frankie Goes to Hollywood, you know, having piss on him. But the fact is, nobody's offended by anything nowadays. I mean,
how could you be?
Yeah, okay. If I put that on for like my nephew, I'd say, yeah, turn that off now. That's not really.
Everybody's wearing their mental illness on their sleeve now. It's suddenly we've stopped to think about that.
Well, I don't think being wanting to be pissed on is a mental illness. That's a fetish, right?
I suppose.
And I mean, obviously, Sim Smith is a gay man, so I don't have any problem with any of that. It's just like, but it blatantly shows, you know, and that Dustin, I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning, like in terms of him and, you know, having his band Wisteria Lodge and everything. And I interviewed him last week. He's just saying, you know, it's like a dying industry, the music industry, and they. You know, I won't be surprised if next year's Grammys they'll bring out someone and they do a live sacrifice of somebody if it sells records. That's it.
Freaking Napster killed the record industry, man. Like, I don't know why we did that to ourselves.
Yeah, but we used to have people like, you know, like Michael Jackson, who were a massive thing and exciting, right? Whatever you think about any of the other stuff that happened, and I'm skeptical personally.
Yeah,
right?
it's cool music once upon a time.
I think, and like Madonna, I don't know, is she actually making herself look like that just to get attention, or is she actually mental? I mean,
something wrong with her, but you know, whatever.
I always thought she went a bit off. By the start of the early 90s, and she'd done like a prayer, basically.
Where do you want me to bring it?
I get it. I feel like
she'd basically made her best album, and then she had nowhere to go, and then she did erotica and stuff like that. And
I feel like she's the closest thing we had to a Marilyn Monroe in the '80s. So I mean, it's a lot.
But the thing is, I always thought that she had really great looks. I mean, she was like, so
yeah, she was.
Why mess them up?
It's not. She's just trying to maintain it, but you can only do so much, you know, before it starts looking strange.
She knows that she's looking strange now.
You know, if she would have stopped at like procedure 1 or 2, it might have been fine. But she fucking went overboard.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing The Conjuring, Jamie. I'm talking about The Conjuring Part 3, which...
But don't even start. Don't even start.
One film review summed it up so well by saying the most depressing thing about this film is not the fact that the film isn't very good and just seems to be done with the most lethargy possible and everything. But if that makes sense. But the fact that they've already planned a Conjuring 4. So,
of course. Hey, James, I gotta grab my dinner. I don't know.
All right. Well, I think we've gone on long enough because if it's just a shorter one like this, more people will tune in the end. Especially if I spread it, we'll have to see if Voltaire returns. So,
all right, feel better, Voltaire.
Gary says Infinity Pool looks good. It looks good to me as well. It's actually directed by Brandon Cronenberg. So
yeah, that tagline though, it gives a little bit too much away. Like Jesus, so you're going to be watching clones of the elite kill themselves in front of themselves. Like Jesus,
you just have to go off the grid until you watch it, basically.
Whoops. What?
You've got to bear in mind, like the amount of media we have now to consume, and you think like back, say, in the 80s or even the 90s or early 2000s, like we basically had nothing. We just had a few. Well, in America, you probably had a lot of TV channels. We did, but
please don't let Mr. Lynch pass away without giving us one more thing, please, Hollywood. That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
Well, he was looking well in that last video, so I don't think he's involved with like any kind of elite sex game.
No, I'm just talking to the producers and the owners of streaming services. If you all are having a war, man, he's a get. I mean, come on. We got Marty Scorsese releasing a movie over on Apple. Let's go.
What are you saying? You're saying Lynch should be allowed to smoke on all sets?
Yes, and do whatever the hell he wants. Final cut, and they should be giving him a lot more.
You're basically saying we should bring back old Hollywood. I mean, yeah.
Bro, he's only going to live in this reality once, and then he's going to be gone.
I think you can let he would be allowed to do whatever he wants.
If you saw the Spielberg movie, you saw that he considers him up there with Ford. So come on, man, come on, Hollywood.
I know I missed the chance of seeing it at the cinema last week, which I'll forever bemoan. But hopefully, I'll be seeing that very soon. I look forward to it. So. Thank you for your recommendation for it. All right, and enjoy your food, and good to see you. Thanks for coming on, even though it was a bit later. So,
all right, peace, everybody.
All right, see you, Ben.
Good night.
Cheerio for now. Thank you, everyone, for sending in.